Okay, we're live. Mario. Cool. Hey everyone. Grab some stuff, getting everything all set up here. People will be joining up here pretty soon. And I'm gonna have some things to show off. Let's see here. bit.ly / what was it? Foam away. Awesome. Perfect. All right. Look at that awesome ceiling. It's so glorious. I like the outlet. You guys like this outlet with the light socket just plugged into it? Legit. Totally professional setup here. Ooh, this kind of cured little piece I'm testing. All right. As soon as we see a handful of people jumping into the live show, then I'm gonna get this party started. Q&A thing is enabled. Awesome. Notes are enabled. There we go. All right. People are piling in. Hey, everybody. Check this out. Shiny. Made a shiny thing. This is a test piece. I made a mold of a knob from something, and I cast. Look at that. By the way, the noise is my clone over there. Got a shop clone. He's off there working on his own thing. Anyway, I made a mold of this knob that was on like my air compressor, and I cold cast it using brass powder. So it's plastic. It's actually plastic. I buffed it up, and then I poured this resin in it, a clear resin with a transparent tint. I'm testing out some things I'm working on with my shopmate Will. Kind of neat. You can see the metallic shine through the resin. It's like a gem thing I got. These are some more test pieces. Ooh. All right, oh, there we go. I'm throwing stuff. Can't take me anywhere. All right, let's get this party started. Hey everybody, welcome to Prop Live. One day late. It's Friday. We usually do this on Thursday, but things happened. Schedules got mixed up, and now we're doing it on Friday. Hopefully you guys are ending your week. Looking forward to making some stuff this weekend, just like I am. And you've got some questions about whatever it is you're making, a prop or a costume or anything really. And you want to ask those questions to me, and I want to answer those questions. So why don't we get that party started? And why don't I say that a couple more times? Before we get rolling with your questions, by the way, too, you're watching this live, there is a Q&A app on the event page for the Google Hangout, and you can ask your questions there. They'll pop up on my screen, and then I can click on them and answer them for you. And we'll get to those in a little bit, but first, I've got some things to tell you all about. The first one, let's see if I can get the screen thing going. The first thing I've got for you is a brand new ebook. Oh, holy crap. So I've got my Foamsmith trilogy of ebooks, and people seem to like them a whole lot. And they've been really excited to get the third part of the trilogy. And by the way, that doesn't mean it's the last one. It's just the third main chunk. I've got some other stuff in the Foamsmith series planned for the rest of you guys. But Foamsmith Volume 3 is out. Undersuits, straps, and lights. Ready to help you finish up that costume. If you're new to the Foamsmith trilogy, you're in luck because the first two volumes, volumes 1 and 2, are only $3 each. So you can get the entire thing. That's right. You can get the whole trilogy of ebooks, tons of knowledge about how to make foam armor for just $11 right now. And I mean, I don't want to brag, but that's a pretty good deal. A lot of knowledge. The other thing that I have, speaking of this, the Foamsmith trilogy, when I was, oh, by the way, those books are on sale until Sunday night. Today is Friday, so until the end of the weekend, those books are still on sale. Then they will go to their normal price. I may end up bundling like the whole trilogy. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, when I was writing the whole trilogy, I had like a bunch of example pieces, like stuff that I made and painted and finished. That they're not really like whole sets of armor. I didn't need that. I just had these little things. So, for example, one of them is this cool gauntlet thing. I use this as an example to show how to put together a gauntlet that would fit on my arm. Ta-da! And how to add like these edge pieces and these details and some weathering and stuff. So this was an example that I put together, and then I painted it a little bit, and I put a light in it. The light's not there anymore. Anyway, it's not a whole piece of armor. I don't need it. So I'm not going to keep it around. I'm going to give it away, including some of these pieces. Another example piece. I made a bunch of these like shoulder things. Ta-da! They're not from anything. I just whipped up a design, and they're for the painting book. So for the second one, sealing and painting, I did a whole bunch of these in different colors with some different finishes on them. And again, they don't really go to anything. So instead of them just sitting around here collecting dust, I'm going to give them away. So we're doing a giveaway, and let me pop this up again. That's not it. Let's open there. So if you go to bit.ly/foamaway, you like that? Like foam giveaway? bit.ly/foamaway. You will see the Foamsmith trilogy giveaway. So all of these pieces, it doesn't cost you a thing. You can sign up. There's 3 ways to sign up. Just like follow me on Twitter and tweet something and visit my Facebook page. It's really easy. Not a lot of people have actually joined, so and it ends tomorrow at noon. So if you haven't jumped in yet, then you got a pretty good chance of winning one of these things. I will sign them. I'll mail them off to you totally for free, and then you get to have yourself a piece of the Foamsmith trilogy history to put up on the wall and look at and go, yeah, that's cool. So those are the 2 big things going on. We got the Foamsmith books till Sunday. They're going to have that sale where the first 2 books are $3. And tomorrow at noon is when the giveaway ends. So if you want in on any of those, then do not delay. Other than that, I think that's all I had as far as housekeeping. And we can start answering your questions. All right. See a couple of questions showing up here in the live Q&A app. So go ahead and keep adding to that. But first, I've got a couple here. This one's from earlier today on my Facebook page. Jurek posted a question. Hey, Bill, I built a Quilag's Fury Sword. I'm going to Quilag's Fury Sword. I can pronounce that. It's from Dark Souls, but I have no idea how or what materials to use for those things above the handle. Also, there's a picture. I'll show you guys. There are things above the handle, and he's curious what to make them out of. So let's load that up. So I'm going to think it's this doodad here. So yay! Thanks, Photo Bucket. This on the right is the reference image, and this on the left is the one he's building, and it's looking pretty damn good. I like it. It's looking pretty damn gigantic too. It's really big. It looks like this bit here is like something weird and organic. I'm gonna guess like either fur or branches, but it's kind of fur-like. And you can get faux fur. You don't have to go murder a fox. You can just go buy fake fur from places like fabric.com, or if you look online, just do a Google search for fur, or not fur, but or I guess you could look up fake fur distributor or clothing or cloth or fabric distributors online and look for faux fur. Something like that is going to be like a fake wolf pelt or something. We did this with our Draugr costume. By we, I mean my wife, because she's awesome. She found this really cool fur for the shoulder bits on my Draugr. And then we used just acrylic paints and like watered it down to and brushed it into it to make it look all matted and gross and dirty. So something like that will probably work out really well for you. Yeah. So there you go. Try fur, fake fur. Don't go killing a real animal for that one. All right. Good question. This one's from Nick. Any tips for scroll sawing foam and cleaning up the rough edges? So I have a scroll saw right there, and I can use it to cut foam, and it's pretty handy to do so. But you're right, it can create some fairly rough edges. Now you can get different blades for your scroll saw. The finer tooth the blade is, the nicer the edge on it is going to be. So maybe try using a finer blade, what they call TPI, or tooth per inch. In fact, I will put a link in the show notes to different scroll saw blades. There we go. So you can go sort of check out what's available. But what you might want to do is get a variety pack with a bunch of different TPIs in them, and just try them out. See what works best for you. What else was I going to say? Then if you can, do something to finish the edges, like use a Dremel, like a sanding bit or a grinding bit and a Dremel to smooth it up a bit. Or use a belt sander or a disc sander if it's like an exterior curve. You can do that. I have an oscillating spindle sander, which is amazing for cleaning up edges like that. I'll put a link to that. You can also get drum sanding bits. It's like I'm in the shop. I'll show you. Come with me, won't you? So I've got my drill press over here. It's called, and I've got these guys right here, which I don't use very much anymore. But this is a drum sanding bit. Look at that. And if I were to put that in the drill press, then I've got like a spindle sander. It doesn't oscillate, like the spindle sander right there oscillates, which is awesome. This doesn't do that, but if you already have the drill press, then get yourself a sanding drum for like $5. Good to go. Use that to clean up your edges on your foam. All right, back to the main there. All right, cool. Drum, you know what? I'll drum sanding bits. I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. All right, thank you, Nick. Okay, another question with a picture. Lucian wants to know, I just finished building a Harley Quinn gun out of EVA foam. Yay, foam! I finished it with regular acrylic paints and a brush-on clear coat that I had laying around. It seemed to work really well, but I was wondering what your preferred method for clear coating EVA foam builds was. Any specific brands or such? Let's first show off this really cool looking Harley Quinn gun. Yep, there it is. Check that out. I love, I'm not like a huge Harley Quinn fan. I don't hate her. I'm not way into her. But I do love the super oversized cork gun. I think that's awesome. I also think that whatever ads they have on DeviantArt know that I shop at superbrightleds.com. Anyway, yeah, that's a really neat looking gun. Well done. So for clear coating your foam, you can actually use PlastiDip. They make a clear, and I believe if you just get the normal clear PlastiDip, it's like a matte finish, which I tend to prefer. But they also make what they call a Glossifyer clear coat. So it's a clear, what am I thinking of? It's a clear PlastiDip that's glossy. So depending on the finish you're going for, you could try either one of those. You'll want to put multiple layers on. You want to make sure it dries. Glossifyer / PlastiDip. So I'll put a link to those down below as well. So there you go. There's a couple things for you to try. Thank you, Lucian, and nicely done on that Harley Quinn gun. It's really neat. All right. The next question, this one is from Alex. I'm about to throw things on my shepherd arbor because they won't stay curved. Let's see here, where I need them to be. The bicep piece won't stay circular like that, especially how do you get the piece to go perfectly round like the gauntlet? Usually what I'll do when I'm gluing, so here's a gauntlet, and this is, as you can see, fairly round. It's a little bit more oblong because our arms are kind of that shape. Generally what I do, this has two seams. So there's a seam on the bottom and a seam on the top where it was glued together, and I just spit on it. Generally what I do is I'll take the two pieces and I'll heat form them by hand before I glue them together. Then I put contact cement on the edge pieces and manhandle them together once the contact cement dries. And then I just sort of, like on the bottom, and then I'll wrap it around and then manhandle these pieces together on the top seam. And the shape you get out of that isn't always like a good final shape because you're just kind of like wrenching on it. So once the seams are nice and glued together, I'll take this and I'll heat it up with a heat gun, and then I'll sort of like form it by hand and just shape it a bit until you get it. And normally that means like squeezing it in different places or pushing it, but reheating it and heat forming it and pushing on it until it's roughly the right shape will get you most of the way there. A lot of getting the right form for something like this has to do with getting a seam. So when you look at this from the front, the seam is straight, but that's not how it started its life. It had a slight S curve to it to get this sort of rounded, tapered form on it. So you want to experiment with your seam lines to get tapered curves if you want to get some complex forms like that. And then also, once it's glued together, heat it up and then sort of manhandle it to get it to the shape that you like. All right. Thank you, Alex. Next one's from Johnny. Just got to playing around with Smoothcast 325, and I like the results, except that the castings have plenty of air bubbles. What's the best way to, for going about building your own vacuum chamber if one that you can buy is too expensive? All right, a couple things. Let me grab a mold. Mold right over here. All right, this is one of my space gun molds. Ta-da! So, you're looking at the cutaway.
Want a professional mold?
No, I have a mold right here. Thank you, April. So this is a mold for the handle piece. This right here is the pouring spout. And when you pour it, it faces like this. So that bubbles have a pretty good path out a big pouring spout. If you have a surface like this surface right here that is perfectly horizontal, bubbles aren't going to want to travel side to side and they'll get stuck there, even if they have a big place to go out. So I designed this mold so that most everything, there aren't a lot of horizontal surfaces. Most everything will want to come straight out. Stuff may still get a little bit trapped on there. You'd think that the bubbles would just shoot up because of gravity, but no, they don't do that. Bubbles will still get stuck in places. So the step one for reducing your bubbles is design a good mold. And you really only kind of learn that through a lot of trial and error. If you notice places where bubbles are forming a lot, then try and think backwards on the process. As a casting resin has a pretty high viscosity. A lot of them have different viscosities. Some of them are lower, so that bubbles will flow better. 325 is a pretty normal one. You can get pretty good results out of that with very few bubbles if you do a good mold. When it comes to using a vacuum chamber, something to pull the bubbles out, I can't recommend making one yourself. I have one that I bought from someone who makes them for a living. I bought it on eBay. The compressor I got, I think, at Harbor Freight. It's like a 3 CFM pump, not a compressor. That was like $130. The chamber itself I bought, I think it was like another $150 with a lid, with a valve, everything that I needed to do it. So I dumped like $300 into it, but I use that thing all the time for degassing silicone. Now you can degas resin when you're pouring that into the mold. you can do that. But more commonly, people will use a pressure chamber. They make these for paint and other stuff. And again, just go freaking buy one. You're dealing with high pressure stuff here. You don't want to you don't want it to explode, which it can. So just go buy one. But you said you use 325. It's got a pot life of 3 minutes. That doesn't give you a lot of time to get the bubbles out or to compress them. So what you might want to do is use a casting resin with a little more longer of a pot life. Actually, I will show you guys all about this. If we go to Smooth-On's website, look up Smoothcast 325. Oops, 235. That's not a real one. Smoothcast 325. There we go. All right, I'm going to do a screen share here. We're going to learn a little bit about resin. All right, down here, if you look at the information, you've got stuff like the name of it. So 325, 326, 327. These are all different types of this color match resin. You would use this if you're going to tint it to a specific color. The mix ratio, the color of it, if you don't tint it, that sort of thing. The pot life of the 325 is only 3 minutes. That's not a lot of time to get your bubbles out of there. The 326, on the other hand, has a pot life of 7 minutes, and the Smoothcast 327 has a pot life of 20 minutes with a demold time of 60 minutes or 2 to 4 hours. So if you use a resin that's got a longer pot life and a longer demold time, that's more time for your bubbles to escape. For example, I have 321 over here. This takes a long time. In fact, I was casting something recently, and even though it says it has a demold time of 30 minutes, I still waited a good 45 because at 30, the piece was still pliable, and I wanted it to be a lot more rigid. So, in closing, buy a pressure chamber. If you're going to use one, buy one. Don't build one. Same thing with a vacuum chamber. Just buy one. Don't build one. And then try using resins with a longer pot life. There we go. Hopefully that'll all help you out there a whole bunch. And also make your molds. Get good at making molds that don't trap bubbles. Awesome. All right. Next one here. It's Kiwi. I know it's Kiwi. A regular here. All right. Hey, Bill. Hey. I spent 15 hours over the past 2 days working on a sculpture. Last night it went incredibly wrong, and I had to scrap it and spend 2 hours dismantling it. When you get disheartened on a project, what do you work on something else for a bit to push through? My general rule, if I get either frustrated with the project or if I lose motivation, like sometimes you're building something, you're like, oh, I just not feeling space guns today. I have a pile of projects to work on. I have so many things on my plate right now. What I'll usually do is if I'm frustrated, I take another project, something that I can finish in a day, something I can, or at least get part of it finished in a day, and I go off and I do that. Something I know it's a sure win. I'm definitely going to be able to, I don't have to figure anything out. I just have to get it done. Then you finish that little thing and you get a little bit of an endorphin rush. You're like, hey, there's the thing I made. All right. That helps get me through it. Gets my mind off of the thing that's frustrating me. I'll keep a notepad, though. If I have ideas about the other one, I'll write them down. But generally, I just take that other project, I set it aside, and then I go and work on something else. Something I know I can finish. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll make in the notes or on the blog post or whatever I do for this, I'll make a quick reference guide for the different smooth casts with just a couple of them with like their demold times. Speaking of the last question, smooth cast demold times chart. I'll do something like that. All right. Do I have any questions from earlier today? Let's see. No, we're all done with those. Cool. Tons of questions coming in via the live chat here. So I'll see if I can chew through as many as possible. This one's from Paul. Is there a way to put a high gloss finish over wax-based metal finishes like Rub and Buff or Inca Gold? It's tricky. You know what? There's something, I can't remember exactly what it was called. It was like a wax. There is. I know there is. You could just get like a glossy clear coat and spray that over that if you want to. But this dude, oh man, I can't remember. All right, I'll tell you what. There is a product that, like, I think it's like Pledge, like a floor wax. This guy who does this steampunk stuff at SteamCon uses it all the time. I'm gonna have to go find out what that is. And this light is bright. I'm gonna have to go do some research on that. But anyway, it's some sort of, there is like a floor wax type finish stuff. I think Ted Smith used that too. But I'm gonna make a note for myself here and go find that out. And I'll put it in the notes. There we go. So come back later and check the notes, and I'll have an answer for you. But yeah, basically this guy does exactly that. He was taking Nerf guns, sanding them, finishing them with Rub and Buff, and then going over that with this floor wax polish stuff like Pledge or something, and it gave it a really cool finish on it. And I think Evil Ted did the same thing. So I will go find that out for you, but you're going to have to wait. Thank you, Paul. This one's from Jonathan. I'm starting to consider attending an out-of-state convention. If you could pick one, would you recommend Nerdtacular or Dragon Con? I'm in Arizona if that affects your decision. I mean, it doesn't affect my decision. Wow, that would be hard for me because like Nerdtacular is family. Like I love those people, and I gotta go every year. But then Dragon Con is Dragon Con. Personally, I couldn't pick between the two. I would find a way to make both of them happen. But if you're in Arizona and flights are an issue, Nerdtacular is going to be way cheaper because it's way closer. Flights to the East Coast are going to be a little bit more expensive, so maybe consider that. If you're way into the Frog Pants community of podcasts, then you're going to love Nerdtacular. You should definitely go to that. If you're just way into it for the cosplaying and the costumes and partying, go to Dragon Con. Or do what I do, save up and go to both. All right. Take a sipping a refreshing beverage of my diet box. This one's from Cosplay Armory. Hey, Bill, I have a very ambitious project that I plan to work on in the future to make a massive Dwarven Centurion from Skyrim. I've killed so many of those. No, I'm not trying to brag, but like a lot. I want to include steam coming out of the back like it does in the game. Any ideas on how to make it steam that isn't too costly? Yes, I have a great idea for you. It's called a wizard stick. All right, let me see if I can find the page for that. But if you look up wizard stick, you'll find it too. Wizard stick. So it's like a fog machine, but it's mini and it's battery operated. We got one right here. I will have a link to this for you guys in the description. The wizard stick is a battery operated fog machine, basically. It's like a handle so that you can, like, it's got some stuff that's designed to go in. So my wife actually has a smoke ring gun. Actually, hey Rob, you look on the shelf over there on the bottom. I think it's on the bottom shelf on the right. Down, all the way down. Is the smoke ring gun there?
See the needler? Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Bring it here. Bring it here. So this is a smoke ring gun. It's not currently functional, but this is it. Check that out. So this is the wizard stick part of it, I think. No, the front is. So this guy here, this is where the batteries go. You grab this handle thing and it makes smoke, like a fog machine. So this whole thing fills up with smoke. And then this pulls this huge diaphragm back. Oh, it's actually working. Holy crap! This thing hasn't been on in years. It still works. Woo! All right, everyone. Hold on to your butts. It's just barely pooping out smoke. Anyway, then you squeeze the trigger and it shoots the smoke ring out. Ta-da! Which is really neat. But anyway, this part of it is the wizard stick that you can buy separately. And it just gets attached to this thing in this particular application. But it's got many other applications, including making a fog machine so you have steam coming out of your Centurion.
I had an idea.
Yeah?
Or rather, I read something. The air cans.
Yeah, like for dusting off your computer.
So if you want like a jet of steam,
yep.
Turn that upside down, give it a squeeze.
There you go. It's going to be really cold.
Yeah.
So don't let it hit your skin directly, but you can...
It just as a pro tip, don't shoot your wife in the ass with it.
Yeah, don't shoot your wife in the ass with it, apparently. Yeah, but those cans of air, if you tip them upside down, they shoot... What is it shooting out? What's compressed?
It's compressed chemicals.
Chemicals.
Sometimes they're flammable. I want to point that out.
Yeah, sometimes they're flammable. Be careful about that, but that's another possible solution, and that would be propelled. The wizard stick and fog machines kind of just like dribble fog out. But I would recommend giving that a try. It's really neat, and besides, like then you have a portable fog machine to use whenever you want. All right. This one's from Deanna. I would like to add a targeting scope to my Magnum pistol from Halo. I've sourced some glass LLA laser diodes used in laser pointers, but am wondering if there will be any problems with using an actual laser rather than, say, red LEDs. So the only reason to use a laser, like a laser pointer, is if you want that dot to project on something, right? If you want that dot to be somewhere other than you. So if you want it to appear on somewhere. I will tell you this. If you're walking around with a gun or something that looks like a gun and it's projecting a laser dot somewhere, you're going to freak someone out. And that someone might be a cop. So I would recommend not using a laser. I would recommend using a red LED. If you want to simulate that sort of red dot scope thing, you could either get a red dot scope and modify it. I wonder how much those cost. Let's find out, Amazon. Red dot scope. They've got like those. Oh, so these are all like big honking, like oh, it's toys and games. Let's go to the full on Amazon. Red dot scope. All right, looking around. Okay, these guys here. Oh, that's not bad. That's like $30. All right, do a little screen share. So you can just go buy like one of these scopes here, like this Global Sportsman Tactical Combat Military 4-star separate something thing. And maybe just incorporate that into your scope or just put it on your gun. It looks pretty sci-fi. Like that looks really neat. You could just stick that on your Halo gun and it would look really cool. So that might be your best bet. I'll put a link to red dot scopes in the show notes. Yeah. Other than that, you can do like edge lit acrylic. So, for example, I have a piece of, this is a little scope thing that I was working on. This is a piece of acrylic plastic that I had laser cut. You could just etch it yourself with like a Dremel. And then if you put like an LED pointing up, it would light this whole, all the etched or cut pieces would get lit up. And then it would sort of simulate that red dot scope. So that's another way you could do it. But I would definitely recommend against putting real lasers on your props. Thank you for your question. Let's see, this next one has an image associated with it. Let's see if it works. I'm gonna open the image and there it is. And I'm gonna share the image so you guys can see it too. Okay, this one is it's from Sanet. There we go. I'm working on my own design, Destiny Warlock helmet. It's awesome. And I want to put some strips of light on it. Any suggestions? Well, Sanet, haven't you read my new ebook all about adding lights to your your costume pieces. So here's the thing, like strips of light can be this really tricky thing. A lot of people like to use EL wire or EL tape. Just be aware that it's not going to like light up the room. It's not going to be crazy. It'll only really look awesome in like dark or underlit environments, especially if it's wire. The EL wire tends to be really thin. If you could put like a strip of EL tape across something and then kind of cover it so it looks like it's coming from that area, that might be the best way to do it. If you're going to use LEDs, like a strip of LEDs, which I have some around here, I would recommend getting a piece of acrylic plastic or something to diffuse the light. But it is going to be hard to make those LEDs not bright, like hot spots. So you're going to have to do some experimenting. It looks like you don't have a lot of room. Usually if you have like a piece of plastic that's diffusing a light, the lights need to be kind of far away from it so it diffuses a little bit and you don't have those really bright hot spots on it. So EL tape, electroluminescent tape, could be one solution, or LEDs. I'll put a link to EL tape in the description. EL tape. That's the stuff they use for all of their Tron outfits in the movie Tron. The next question is from Alex, by the way. I'll answer this real quick. Alex says, LEDs or EL wire? Again, it's totally situational. If you want to project, if you want light coming out of it, LEDs are way more powerful at actually giving off light. EL wire only really illuminates itself, which it can look really neat if you do it in the proper application. But if you look up how they did their wiring and suits and stuff for Tron, that would be the way to go. Okay. See here, lots of great questions. You guys are freaking ruling it today. All right, Lon wants to know. I know Lon. Lon was at Nerdtacular. Have you tried vinyl fabric or automotive vinyl for covering EVA foam? I've used the automotive textured vinyl for panels on cast pieces, but I was reading about using it on foam. Actually, I haven't tried that, but I saw a dude who did the character with the giant hands from League of Legends. He made the big arm, the big hand pieces out of foam, the EVA foam, and then covered it in vinyl. It was like a metallic looking vinyl. It looked awesome. It looked like metal. It was really cool. He ended up basically having strips of foam and then laying the vinyl down on it. Adhering it, I mean, I would probably use barge or any contact cement because I love it and it works great on foam, and I imagine it would work great on vinyl. But you could probably use super glue too, or hot glue for a lot of it. Yeah, so vinyl on foam, I never really thought of it before, but I've seen it done and it looked really cool, so I might have to try it. The other great thing about that is the vinyl is fairly thick, and if you have a texture, and if the vinyl has a texture that you like, for example, you can get faux leather looking vinyl. The texture of the foam is irrelevant. You can just wrap it in whatever vinyl texture you want, or color, or metallic even. Yeah, so I say give it a try. It'd be pretty neat. Cool. All right. This one's from Coulter. Oh, we have this question got split up into two things. Let's see here. Oh, where is it? This is one from Coulter. I'm reading the first one, and I'm going to jump up to. I've been building a large prop weapon out of MDF for the last 2 days or 2 weeks, and I was wondering if you have any suggestions on a good primer paint. Primer paint that would help fill in most of the little pores in the MDF that I'd like to leave behind. And what's your go-to spot filler for stubborn areas? I'm currently using a 2-part epoxy for spot filling. That sounds like a lot of work. So if I have any areas that are, let's say, bigger than a 1/16 of an inch, I go with Bondo to fill it in. It cures fairly fast, and you can sand it down. If it's smaller than a 1/16 of an inch, I use this stuff right here. Bondo makes it, the glazing and spot putty. So this is an air drying putty. It doesn't need to be mixed with a catalyst like Bondo normally does. But anything any hole deeper or wider than 1/16 of an inch, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna wait for this to dry for a long time before it fills it in. But this stuff is awesome for like gouges or nicks or dings or anything. This stuff is really good. Once you've done all that and you want to start filling in like even finer textures, that's where a good what do they call it? Filler primer. There we go. I'll put links again to the spot putty. What do I call it? Edging spot putty and filler primer. Filler primer is what's called self-leveling, so it tries to fill in gaps and stuff. So before I do like a final prime on something, I'll hit it with filler primer, a couple of layers of that, and then sand it down nice and smooth, and then I'll finish it. But there you go, spot filler putty and filler primer. Thank you, Coulter. I'm going to delete your other question because it's the other half of it. There we go. All right, let's dig back here. This one's from Annie. So I'm working on Medusa from Kid Icarus, and I was wondering if you had any suggestions on making the snakes in her hair. As of now, I'm planning on carving them out of insulation foam, but I didn't know if you were aware of a better way I might be able to accomplish it. So that would work. You could definitely do that. I would worry about them snapping off, because once insulation foam gets fairly thin, here, I have some right here. Here we go. Once insulation foam gets pretty thin, it'll just snap. So your tiny snakes, unless they're reinforced in some way, may just snap right off. You probably want something that's got a little bit of give to it. You could do something like get armature wire, aluminum armature wire, make a little snake skeleton shape, wrap that in thinner armature wire, or let's say, what do they call it? Foil, aluminum foil, and then sculpt something on top of that using all manner of stuff. You could use epoxy sculpt. You could use, why is my brain farting? Smooth On has their own called Freeform Sculpt. Freeform Sculpt. Or you could use Sculpey. You could use any number of things to sculpt your snakes on top of that. And then the great thing about that is you have that armature on the inside. So even though the outside might be rigid, like our foam here, even if it does crack or snap a little bit, it's not going to break off. It's terrible. That armature wire at least will keep it attached, won't snap off and fly away. Something else you may consider too is making one, like sculpting one snake and then casting it out of something. You could cast it in, like you make a mold, like this guy here. You could cast it out of a rigid material like a plastic. You could, while you're casting it, you could embed an armature inside of it. You could cast it out of like flexible, squishy foam. There's all kinds of options, so you might want to try and explore that. But I think having some kind of armature inside of there would be your best bet. You could also just like sew like a snake. You could just make it out of cloth if you wanted to, and then stuff it with stuffing, and again put an armature in there, just a wire armature, so that you can pose it and shape it and attach it to your head via the wire. So any one of those would probably work really well. Good luck with your snake hair. Here we go. KK Props wants to know, is there something with the same properties like Bondo, but not smell and less toxic? If there was, I'd probably get it. There's something else called, what's it called? What does Matt use? Evercoat? Evercoat? Here we go. So this stuff is called Evercoat. Yeah. I'll put a link to this guy down below. Now, I've never used this before. My buddy Matt Munson of the Project Workbench loves this stuff. And they got a whole bunch of different products. It's all for auto body repair. But he likes it a lot. I've never used it. I don't know if it's less toxic, but it is an alternative to Bondo. So there's that. I'm not really sure where to get it, but they have a whole bunch of different stuff. So there's something you could go explore, try out maybe. But Bondo is readily available if you have a well-ventilated area and like a respirator or a dust mask for when you're sanding, then you should probably just use that. That's what I think. That's what I do anyway. All right, Jonathan wants to know, have you tried to cook anything on the laser cutter, and did you come up with a name yet? I don't have a name yet. I've been slacking. Sorry. That's my bad. That's on me. I have not tried to cook anything on it, mostly because I'm not worried about the laser. I don't think that anything, like I cut a leather in there, and it worked out just fine. It did stink something awful, but it's not going to ruin the laser. But as far as cooking anything goes, I've cut plastic and leather and wood and all sorts of stuff in that enclosed area, and I don't think I want to put food in there and then laser it and then put that in my mouth. I don't think that's going to happen. And if I'm not going to put it in my mouth, then I'm not going to waste food by lasering it. So no, I haven't cooked anything in my laser cutter. I have been tempted, but it hasn't happened yet. All right. Brian wants to know, what is the best way to predict how much plastic resin is needed for a cast? There are a couple of ways you can do that. The easiest, if I have my mold here, and this is what it looks like on the inside, close it up, fill this with water, dump that water into a bucket with measurements. Oh, let's show you right here. One of these guys right here, dump that water in there, and you'll know exactly how much resin you'll need. You could do the same thing with rice. If you do dump water into your mold, just make sure it dries before you try and cast anything out of it. Or you can just guess. Like sometimes you just want to guess. Usually you'll guess not enough. You'll fill it up part of the way. You'll fill it up part of the way like, oh no, I ran out of resin. Just go make up some more resin and pour it in there. I usually have, I don't have it on this one. So this mold has these boards I use for, is that the right side? Who made these? These are ridiculous. These boards go on either side of it, and then these get clamped shut to hold it nice and flat and together. Usually I'll have like, this is how many castings I've got out of this particular mold, but usually I'll write how many milliliters I need. For this particular one though, I have a list. You can't really, there's a piece of paper over there. With a list of all the pieces for this space gun kit, so I know how much resin I need for each piece. So yeah, once you do find out how much resin you need, write it down on the mold, and then you'll always know. All right. This one is from Brian. How do you get measurements for props and armor from games like Destiny if the front side top back view is not available, like the reference pics Bungie released for the hand cannon or in-game? Give me a second here. I'm going to find something for you real quick. I have this thing I made. Props reference. And there it is. So this is something you can do at home if you're following along. And where is it? There it is. All right, so this is a picture I took of my hand holding a prop gun that I made. But you could do the same thing with like a Nerf gun or a prop gun. Anything that is a regular gun-shaped sized thing. And I took a photo of my hand holding it next to a ruler so that I could then go, once I have this picture, I'll take that image and I'll throw it into Photoshop, any other image editing software with layers, and I'll take a reference image that's close to a side view. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'll superimpose that over my reference picture here, and I'll scale that image so that it fits in my hand, basically. And then I will I can tell by the ruler in the image roughly how long it is. You could even like copy that ruler in Photoshop and put it on its own layer and like rotate it and like put it around and take measurements if you want to get it pretty close. But at the very least, it'll get you relatively close to the scale. I will warn you though, with Destiny, the hand cannons are massive. They do have a reference image that shows like how long. Could you do that somewhere else? Thanks. How long the guns are, and the hand cannons I think are like 15 inches long, which is pretty big for a revolver. And then Thorn is like 20. It's like massive. It's like a shotgun. So just keep that in mind. That even though it may fit in your hand, that may not be the like actual size of it. But if it's something you're going to carry around, then making it fit in your hand is a pretty good place to start. So good luck scaling your thing. Also, too, if you have to guess on the scale, just like no one has ever been like, that gun looks too big. Just guess on making it too big. Make it bigger than you think, if you have to. All right. Great questions today, you guys. Great questions. This one is from Foosro Dave, another regular contributor to the show. I'm making a Destiny hand cannon, out of foam, but the barrel started curving towards the right after adding some layers with contact cement, and I can't get it to stay straight. Would a wooden dowel down the length of it work, and how would I go about adding it? That would probably help. I could see how that would happen. When you're laying down, when you're sort of laminating two layers of foam together, let's see if I can illustrate this really well. If they're coming together all nice, like you won't get any of that sort of churn. Well, looks like I'm back. I think I'm back. It's telling me it's live. Anyway, hopefully this works. I'm just going to keep talking. Right. So, laminating layers of foam together, illustrated with my. If you get them nice and flat together, they won't curve. But if one side gets a little more rambunctious than the other, then you'll get a little bit of curving. So your best bet is just when you're laminating those, take your time and hopefully it'll be nice and straight. If it doesn't, then yeah, I think like taking a long drill bit and drilling a hole, like take your curved gun piece and lay it flat, on a work surface and like put a book on it so it lays flat, and then drill a hole down the middle the best you can, like down the barrel or something, and then take your dowel and just jam it in there, and hopefully that'll work. You're gonna have to do a lot of trial and error with that one. All right, again, sorry guys for the stream interruption. That was really weird. My computer locked up, but it appears to be working now. I'm going to answer one more question. This one's from Gary. Gary's a really cool guy, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to take my thing here. Okay, Gary's awesome. What's Gary's page? I can't remember. I think it's called Gary Sterling Props or something like that. He's making a Destiny Warlock helmet, which is freaking rad. Come on, Facebook. Work with me.
I want one of those.
Yeah, Gary Sterling Studios. I'm going to share the thing here. I'm going to make sure I'm not sharing too much. Facebook. There we go. Go check out Facebook. Facebook.com/Gary Sterling Studios. And we can see, oh, look at that. There's a really cool looking Destiny helmet. And Rob wants one. He says, what's the actual question? I have a good handle in the silicone part, but the plastic paste for the mother mold is all new to me. Is wax necessary to use between the mother mold and the silicone? I love plastic paste. It's really awesome, but you could also use fiberglass. That's what Rob is doing right now with the Mandalorian helmet. And B, nothing sticks to cured silicone except other cured silicone. So you don't need to put like a mold release or wax or anything on the silicone itself to keep the mother mold from sticking to it. However, if you have undercuts, if you get a little wonky with your registration keys, like you might do, your mother mold can get stuck on there just through physics. So keep that in mind when you're doing your thing. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out. Awesome. All right, everybody. That's going to be about it for today. Again, sorry about that interruption. We'll see how it turns out in the final recording. I don't know how Google Hangout handles your computer crashing halfway through it. We'll see how it goes. I'm curious to see how much it recorded of me confused looking at the camera. Other than that, let's finish up here by letting you guys know that I will have a whole bunch of show notes later on, probably tomorrow. So you can go check out that floor wax thing I was looking up with links to everything we talked about in the show. And then also, if you go to bit.ly/foamaway, I forgot, bit.ly/foamaway, you will see I'm doing a giveaway to get these guys out the door. Whoops, dropping everything. And I want to share that with you. .ly/foamaway. There it is.
You're gonna fire up the grill.
Fire up the grill. I don't think we have any propane. We're gonna have to do it on the top.
I'm not gonna do that.
Making burgers tonight.
Are you done broadcasting?
No, I'm not done broadcasting. This is the 17 hours left to go. 240 people have entered to give away these pieces here that I've got from the Foamsmith trilogy. So if you want to have a go at one of those guys, then enter. It's totally free. You can also check out the Foamsmith Volume 3, which is out now, and it's just $5. And the other two are only $3 until the end of the weekend. Hooray! That's it, guys. Thank you very much for showing up. Thank you for your wonderful questions again. You guys are awesome for coming and bringing your awesome, super cool questions to me so that I may answer them for you. Other than that, hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you all again next week. Yeah.